La plus ancienne course du pays, qui en quelques secondes tourne au cauchemar. Une explosion sourde. La plus ancienne course du pays, qui en quelques secondes tourne au cauchemar.
I thought I might make a supplement to this video to clarify my position on this issue and to clarify why I made this video. The reason I made this video is because I haven't seen either in the official or alternative narratives any mention of this oddity, of something going on with these runners at the moment of the detonation, and hasn't been covered in any of the official and alternative narrative. So it's really out there for you to see and for you to draw your own conclusions and for you to take it forward. Now, there's a few things I wanted to discuss as well. There's so many oddities with the Boston bombing hoax that I really couldn't just bring it down. I couldn't include them all in this video, otherwise it would have no focus and it would just be overwhelming amount of information. So I might make some other videos down the track showing clear clear, objective, verifiable fact that can show that it's not possible for either the official narrative to be correct or the alternative narratives to be correct either. The idea that, there's some sort of Saudi connected in to with the brothers, and it's really the Saudi that's pulling the strings, and it's a Saudi conspiracy. Or the conspiracy that it's, military contractors, and that it's the Navy SEALs that staged this attack. Now, if I ask you, what is the colour of John's car? If you think about that question, then you've actually been mind controlled. Because by simply asking that question and thinking about that question, your mind has accepted a statement which may be false, which is that John has a car. And that's called a presupposition. So if you presuppose something in your narrative, then in a way you can promote that presupposition out there, even though you can have contradictory narratives. But all the contradictory narratives have the same presuppositions. And if you look at the official story of the two Chechen brothers connected to Al-Qaeda, or if you look at the alternative the alternative Saudi conspiracy, the Saudi connected with the two Chechen brothers, or if you look at, it was just the government, Navy SEALs, Blackwater, Kraft International. All these narratives kind of presuppose a common idea, and that idea is that a bombing happened, that there were victims, that terrorism exists, whether it's the two Chechen brothers, or whether it's a Saudi, or whether it's the government. There's terrorism out there, and there's people wanting to kill you, so you have to be afraid. Okay. Now, if you look at the evidence, I think that it's all being staged and hoaxed, either by the military-industrial complex or Mossad. These are the only real two groups that are out there in the world today that are capable of carrying out these sorts of attacks. Now, a lot of the time, the military-industrial complex and Mossad tend to work together. A lot of the times that they don't. So the question is, who was it that had their hand in it? If you look at the evidence, some days before the Boston bombings, that the Israelis flew police officers from Israel. They flew them to Boston to meet with the FBI to assist in the investigation of the bombing. So just think about that. Does it seem like the FBI would be an agency that isn't territorial, that doesn't have an issue with other agencies of government treading on its turf, and it's going to just simply open its doors to allow an Israeli squad of police to assist in the investigation? Likely they ran the investigation. The idea that Chechens would attack the US is a bit of a stretch, because Chechens are allies of Zionism and of the US. It's possible that Chechens are willingly going along with the narrative to help out the Zionist allies. What that would imply is that the Chechen brothers are actually not real, that they are themselves part of the hoax. Interestingly, the uncle that was adamantly berating the Chechen brothers, he turns out to be married within a CIA family. And let's not forget that Mossad's slogan is, by way of deception, thou shalt do war. And if this is not deception that we're discussing, then I don't know what is. Another interesting factoid, Israeli doctors are treating the so-called Chechens. Why can't American doctors treat the suspects? Why do Israeli doctors have to treat the suspects? And it's in an Israeli hospital, the Beth Israel Hospital. So my bets are that it's a Mossad operation. They're the ones that are behind it. And so you think, well, what do you mean there's no terror? There's no terrorism. You can clearly see, right, a bomb going off. You can clearly see victims with their legs shredded, and you can see, yes, you can see that on the surface. If you look at it, you can see that on the surface. Yes, there appear to be victims, there appear to be a bomb, there appear to be all these elements in place that combined in a sort of quick, superficial way. Yeah, it has the apparition of a legitimate event. But when you really look at the detail, and this is where it is, you have to look at the detail, you can find that it all falls apart. Now, with the Boston bombing, if you just look at the forensics of it, look at things like the light bulbs are still intact. The bomb goes right next to a tree, yet the tree is completely intact. There's the flags. There's supposed to be shrapnel all around, and yet none of the flags are damaged at all. They're not burnt. They don't have shreds or anything. If you look at the chairs and the seats in the surrounding restaurant, they're completely undamaged at all. Then victims themselves and the blood patterns, the flesh wound patterns, the way that the clothes are torn and scorched, it suggests that it's likely to be it's similar to a movie prop or a crisis actor scenario, which is already apparently an industry. They have quite a few crisis actor agencies around where you can hire people to simulate, terror attacks or disasters for training purposes and drills. So the idea that this is a far-fetched idea is really not true, because if you look at the real evidence is that there is an industry. There's an industry of people dressing up as bombing victims. People make money from this. Okay? So, to go one step further to say, well, the government is using either these people or their own version of this type of industry or their own internals set up to hoax attacks, then it's possible that they can carry it out. Now, why wouldn't they? People say, well, it's much easier for them to actually do a real attack, right? You think, well, why don't they just do a real attack rather than going to all the trouble of faking an attack? Because, how difficult it is. Well, the problem is if you do a real attack, then, you're going to have real victims. And when you have real victims, you've got real family members. And when you have real family members, and you've got real people investigating, real people writing books, real people calling up media and pushing their grievances with politicians with many, many years. And it's a big headache, I would imagine, for a group that's trying to orchestrate these attacks, because they constantly have, a horizon of people hunting them down. But if you actually hoax the attacks and just simulate victims, then there actually won't be any victims, and there won't be people chasing you down. But you will achieve your political agenda, which is, to bring in this, East Germany style Stasi police state, which is what they're trying to bring in by my view, anyway. So, if we now look at this scenario, you have this woman in green. She's running down, and as soon as she runs past the bomb, it goes off, and at that moment she flicks what I suggest is a detonator to the runner behind her, who catches the detonator, places it next to him. Then the policeman comes by and flicks the detonator to the person behind him, and you can't see it on camera, but it looks like the bald man in blue is responsible for picking that detonator up. And what it does with it, who knows? Maybe puts it in his pocket and goes back to base or whatnot. I don't know. But it's out there, and just making this video to prove that, there might be a different story to this all. Anyway, I've gone on for a fair bit, so just to be clear, I don't endorse terrorism of any kind. I don't support violence of any kind. I stand for peace, and I stand for justice. I'm not religious. I'm not a Muslim. I'm not Jewish. I'm not Christian, and I don't hold any religious beliefs. So this is here for your own benefit. So do with it what you want. Thank you. Bye.